Shabbat Shalom, friends. We begin with a wordless melody, a nigun, and once again, this is your invitation to lend your voices, and whatever comes out is a holy profession to the Almighty God.
Ph.D. on page 20.
B'nei Shabbat nekavela lecha dodi likrat kala B'nei Shabbat nekavela Shamor v'zachor v'ribor echad Yishmi'anu el amiuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad L'shem ultiferet v'letehila Lecha dodi likrat kala B'nei Shabbat nekavela Lecha dodi likrat kala B'nei Shabbat nekavela Lecha dodi לקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורי קומי, אורי, 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 שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
We turn and face the door to welcome in Shabbat.
בואי בשלום עצרת ברא, גם בשמחה ובצרות תחנו עיני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך
דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Yesterday morning, I received a phone call, and it was one of those calls from a number that you don't quite recognize, so you debate if you're going to answer it for fear of talking to a robocaller. And so I almost let it go to voicemail, but it ended up being a member of the community, and he was looking for guidance through a very small but particular situation, and we had a short conversation. As we were about to hang up, he asked me a very simple question. Has anyone told you today that they love you? I sort of stopped in my tracks because who asks that? How often do we think about that? Not just for ourselves, but for others in our midst. In Judaism, love is not simply something that we feel. It's something that we do. At least 5 times in the Torah, God commands us to love God, to love our neighbor, to love the stranger, to love those who choose Judaism, and to love our fellow human beings. More than a feeling, the Torah teaches us love is an obligation. It's a practice, it's a choice that we make again and again and again. And it's at the heart of the covenant that God makes with the people of Israel in this week's Torah portion when we read and reach Revelation at Sinai. But before reaching the 10 Commandments, Jethro, Moses' brother-in-law and the namesake of this week's Torah portion, sees that Moses is exhausted. He's been answering every question, he's been settling every quarrel in the community, and he's been standing up as a leader from dawn until dusk. And Jethro warns him, you're going to wear yourself out. Both you and the people are with you because the task is too heavy for you to bear alone. That's love. Love is stepping in before somebody has to ask, noticing humanity behind the counter, behind an email, or even remembering that somebody is on the other end of the phone. Love is not just about what we feel, but it's about how we live our lives. This Shabbat, we are honored to welcome Dr. Andrew Rehfeld to our bima. He's the president of Hebrew Union College and a friend to our congregation. And his leadership and vision continue to shape the future of Jewish learning and Jewish life. And we're grateful to have his wisdom join us on the bima. And as we enter Shabbat, I want to offer us just a few words to get us into a Shabbat spirit. May we see those who need us and show up for them. May we hear the voices of the unheard and lift up those sounds. And may we feel the presence of those around us and embrace them with kindness. And through those actions, may we always choose to live a life of love. Shabbat Shalom. Take a moment, express your love and your gratitude for those around you.
Shabbat Shalom. Love and gratitude. Just handshake. It's just like a chill handshake. Pretty chill.
It is my privilege now to invite our bat mitzvah Layla Gerstein up with her father, Ari, to help us kindle the Shabbat lights.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all those who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our day be among those who kindle light.
Ready?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'chad litner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Mazel tov to Layla. And it is now my honor to invite Rabbi Larry Kotok and his wife Meryl forward to help us sanctify Shabbat with the words of Kiddush.
The heaven and earth were finished and all their array. On the seventh day, God finished the work that God had been doing, and God ceased on the seventh day from all the work that God had done. And God blessed the seventh day and declared it holy, because on it God ceased from all the work of creation that God had done.
Please join me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho v'yahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lemaseh v'reishit Ki hu yom techila lemikrae kodesh zecher letziat Mitzrayim Ki vanu vacharta veotanu kidashta mikomim V'shabbat kodshecha ve'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen.
We rise for the call to worship the Baruch Hu, page 28.
Yadadai, dai, 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 dai. Yadadai, dai, 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 dai. Yadadai, dai, 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 dai. Yadadai, dai, 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 dai. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach. Le'olam
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chokhmah poteach she'arim, uvidvuna meshane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umsader et hakochavim, b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono, borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or.
Umavir yom umevi laila, umavdil bein yom uvein laila, Adonai tzimahot shemo, El chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, amariv aravim. Avat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadta. Avat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu, v'shochlenu v'toreinu, nasiach b'chudecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, u'lemitzvotecha, le'olam va'ed. Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadta. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai echad. Baruch Shem kevod malchuto leolam va'ed.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha Vishinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, b'shivtecha b'veitecha, uvlechtecha v'derech, uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha, ugsharatam leot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha. Uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru vasitem et kol mitzvotai vitem kedoshim leloechem Ani Adonai Elohechem אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
14 months ago, I found myself sitting in a hotel in Herzliya, in Israel, in this pretty nondescript room at a board table. Behind me, the beautiful glistening of the Mediterranean Sea. And in front of me, a heartbroken father. An immigrant from Argentina, he moved to Israel when he was a small boy. And he's sitting at this table describing what it was like for his family to leave Argentina and to come to the Promised Land, a land that he had dreamt of and heard of, a place flowing with milk and honey, a place of magnificent date palms and glistening lakes, a place of golden stones and beautiful people. And he was telling me this story with his eyes filled with tears as he was one of the families, the hostage families, both of his sons kidnapped from one of the kibbutzim. And as he was sitting there before us, sort of crouched in his chair, describing the utter heart-wrenching pain of not knowing where his 2 grown children were, only imagining, he looked at us and he said, "Never in my wildest dreams would I imagine I'd be back in the place of Egypt, a place of darkness and bondage, while still sitting in my promised land." As we prepare to sing the words of Mi Chamocha, I think of him tonight, because God willing, tomorrow, his son will be redeemed from the place of darkness and bondage, from the place of utter, heart-wrenching pain and loneliness and isolation. God willing, tomorrow I will see when I awake, when we all open our eyes. I pray with the depths of my being as I cling to my hostage tag that I received that day. I hope and I pray that I see that picture of him embracing one of his sons, knowing that he will be redeemed in his holy promised land, walking for once again in the place of divine golden light, embracing once again Father and Son, surrounded by Am Yisrael, all of us. As we sing these words of Mi Chamocha tonight, may they reach the heavens, may they reach the land of Israel, may they embrace the hearts of all of those who are waiting to embrace their loved ones tomorrow and, God willing, in the days to come. Mi Chamocha Ba'elim Adonai, who is like you, O God, who is like you, that we may know once again that place of promise, of beauty, of love, and of connection. Mi Chamocha.
Mi Chamocha, Ba'elim Adonai, Mi Chamocha, Nedar ba'Kodesh, Norah, Tehilot, Oseh,
טוב, וגלום יד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל.
We read together. Make for yourself a quiet place, beyond the noise and chaos, a place of refuge and retreat, to renew your mind. Make for yourself a prayer place, beyond the fear and doubt, a place of comfort and calm, to renew your heart. Make for yourself a healing space, beyond the shadows and grief, a place of hope and love, to renew your soul. God, teach me to use my moments and days as acts of renewal, drawing your divine energy into my life so that I may serve you and your creation with the fullness of my being.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu, Leshalom. Vehamidenu, Shomreinu lechaim. Uthros aleinu, Sukat shlomecha. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu, Leshalom. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu, Leshalom. Let there be love, let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms.
We celebrate the joy of Shabbat with the singing of Vishamru, page 44.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. איי 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 ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש איי 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 ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש.
We rise together for the tefillah, which begins on page 46.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi agit tehillatcha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el hagadol hagibor v'hanora El Elyon Gomer chasadim tovim V'konei hakol V'zocher chastei avot v'imahot U'mevi geula livnei v'neihem L'mahan shemo ve'ahava Melech ozer u'moshia u'magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham v'ezrat Sarah Atah gibor le'olam Adonai Mechayei hakol Atah rav lehoshia Mashiv haruach u'morir hagashem Mechalkel chaim bechesed Mechayei hakol berachamim rabim Somech noflim verofech olim Umatir asurim Umekayem emunato Lishenei afar Michamocha ba'al gevurot Umidomelach Melech memit umechayeh Umatzmiach Yeshua V'ne'eman atah l'chayot hakol Baruch atah Adonai Mechayei hakol Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh U'kadoshim b'chol yom yahlelucha selah Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh. Avinu, Avinu, שבשמיים, צור ישראל וגואלו. אבינו, אבינו, שבשמיים, צור ישראל וגואלו. ברוך
O Heavenly One, protector and redeemer of Israel, send your blessings to Israel through these dark and difficult days. Shelter your people with your love and protection. Grant them strength and resilience to endure. Strengthen the hands of those defending the Holy Land, soldiers and civilians alike. Protect them from harm and return them to the embrace of their loved ones. For those still held captive, we pray their return to their waiting families now without any more delay. We mourn the loss of innocent lives and ask that your Spirit bring comfort to all who grieve. May every heart filled with hatred be softened with love and a desire for peace. May each of us merit the fulfillment of your promise that you will grant strength to your people and that you will bless all of us with peace. Adonai oz le'amo iten, Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom. We continue now in silent prayer and meditation.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam.
Ki atahu melech adom lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adom lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam.
V'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בלשונך. Shalom Rav Yisrael Shalom 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 Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim
Service continues now with the celebration of the reading of Torah. This time we invite our bat mitzvah to come join us on the bima and invite everyone to rise as we begin to celebrate the reading of Torah.
Ki mitzion tetzei Torah Adonai Yerushalayim. Ki mitzion tetzei Torah Adonai Yerushalayim. Baruch shenatan Torah le'amo Yisrael. Baruch shenatan Torah le'amo Yisrael. B'kedushato Shema
Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Lecha Adonai hagedula, hagevura vehatiferet, vehanetzach vehahod.
Shabbat
Ki
shalom.
kol bashamayim ubaretz, ki kol bashamayim ubaretz. Lecha Adonai ve'amlacha, ve'amin na'aseh lechol erosh. Eilech Andalibi, Hosanna ve'al titalem. Eilech Hamda libi, Hosanna ve'al titalem. Eilech Hamda libi, Hosanna ve'al titalem. Eilech Hamdalibi, Hosanna ve'al titalem. Hamdalibi, Hosanna ve'al titalem. Eilech Hamdalibi, Hosanna ve'al titalem. Eilech Hamdalibi, Eilech Hamdalibi, Hosanna ve'al titalem. Eilech Hamdalibi, Hosanna ve'al titalem. Eilech Hamdalibi, Hosanna ve'al titalem. Oseh shalom nimromah, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, amen.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
I was speaking to a friend, and we were talking about what's the difference between Reform Judaism and Conservative Judaism and Orthodox Judaism. And I think sometimes we're under the misconception that the difference between Reform Judaism, Conservative Judaism, and Orthodox Judaism is that Orthodox Jews do a lot of mitzvahs, Conservative Jews do some mitzvahs, and Reform Jews do mitzvahs. And that's not remotely the difference. The difference is not what mitzvot someone does that determines whether they are Reformed, Conservative, or Orthodox. It's why. It's where they hear the commanding voice of God speak to them. An Orthodox Jew hears the voice of God speak from the words of Torah and Talmud and tradition and of their rabbis. And conservative Jews do exactly the same things, except their interpreters and scholars and rabbis say that the law that you are obligated to follow, that tradition teaches you to observe, is a little bit more malleable and modern than our Orthodox friends might give it credit for. Reformed Jews hear the voice of God differently. We hear the voice of God not coming from outside of us, but welling up from inside of us. That the voice of God that speaks to us most authentically is not the voice of God from outside, from somebody else's reading of a text that says, do this, don't do that. It's when you do something not because you have to, but because you have to. And what's interesting is that in this week's Torah portion, Parshat Yitro, the Israelites are all gathered together at Mount Sinai. They have grown together to be somehow this mass mixed multitude, one with each other. They have somehow forged this web of relationship that has not only allowed them to be one with each other, but invites the Holy One to be one with them. And the product of that grand moment of meeting, we hear as the words of the Ten Commandments. But what we know is that God doesn't speak to us in the way that we speak to each other. The voice of God seldom is heard from outside of us. The voice of God wells up from inside of us. And when we hear that voice most authentically, that voice tells us very clearly who we're supposed to be and what it is we're supposed to do. What happened at Mount Sinai was not just a time when the Israelites were one with each other. It was a time when the Israelites understood what it was to love each other, to hear what each other was saying, to feel what each other was feeling, to literally allow the experience of the other to be their own experience so they could create amongst themselves a spirit of oneness and unity that allowed them to come and be a unit, a oneness, a people. And from all of that love that was shared from within them towards others and back toward them again was understood the words that was captured in Torah. Because if you were to open your heart with the deepest possible love for each and every other person amongst your family, the people that are easy to love, the people who are not easy to love, the people you have forgotten how to love, and amongst your clan, and amongst your tribe and your people, if you could open your heart that wide, then all of the truths that we learn in what are called Aseret Dibrot, the 10 utterances, would be crystal clear and obvious. We would know that there is no other God but the Holy One. We would know that anything we might fashion with our hands is not worthy of our worship. We would learn that if we swear an oath, we had darn well mean what we say. That we should keep Shabbat and make it holy, and devote some of our time not for our own affairs, but for those ideas that are of ultimate importance. That we should honor our mothers and our fathers, that we shouldn't murder or break our family bonds and promises and oaths, and we should not steal, and we should not lie when we are asked to tell the truth, and we shouldn't be so gosh darn jealous of our neighbor's stuff. And if we could open our hearts to those truths, imagine how much closer God's presence would feel, not just when we gather together at Mount Sinai, but no matter where we gather and with whomever we gather in our world today. Because we are so blessed to have the president of the Hebrew Union College with us, we're going to invite to the Aliyah, to the reading of Torah tonight, anyone who is an alum or who has studied or taught at the Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion, our Reform Movement seminary. Whoopsie. It's what happens when your synagogue owns a mausoleum. So if you are part of the Hebrew Union College, we invite you please to come join us on the Bima.
There's a plug. There's a plug for the mosque.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Baruch Hu et Adonai Baruch Adonai Amvarach Leolam Va'ed. Amen. Vaydaber Elohim et kol hadvarim ha'ele lemor, and so God spoke all of these words, saying, Anochi Adonai Elohecha asher hotzeiticha me'eretz Mitzrayim mibeit avadim. I am Adonai, your God, who brought you up from the land of Egypt, from a house of bondage. Lo yiyeh lecha Elohim acharim al panai. You shall have no other gods before me. Lo ta'aseh lecha fesel v'chol tmunah. Do not make for yourself any graven image. Asher b'shamayim mima'al v'asher ba'aretz mitachet v'asher b'mayim mitachet la'aretz. Of anything that is in the heavens above or on the earth below or in the waters under the earth. Lo tishtachaveh lehem v'lo ta'avdem. You shall not bow down to them or serve them. Ki anochi Adonai Elohecha el kana. For I, Adonai, your God, am an impassioned God. Boken avon avot al banim al shaleshim al ribeim l'sonai. Who visits the sins of parents on children in the third and fourth generations of those who scorn me, ve'oseh chesed la'alafim lo havai, and who will perform acts of loving kindness to the thousandth generation of those who love me. Turn the page. U'lishomrei mitzvotai, and who keep my commandments. Lo tisai et shem Adonai Elohecha lashav. You shall not use God's name for a false or vain purpose. Ki lo yanakeh Adonai et asher yisa et shemo lashav. For God will not clear one who uses God's name for a false or vain purpose. Zachor et yom haShabbat lekodsho. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Sheshet yamim ta'avod v'asita kol malachtecha. 6 days you may work and do all of your labors. V'yom hashvi Shabbat l'Adonai Elohecha. But the seventh day is a Sabbath for Adonai your God. Lo ta'aseh kol malacha. You shall not do any manner of work. Ata uvincha uvitecha avdecha v'amotcha uvemtecha v'gercha asher bisharecha. You, your son or your daughter, your male or female servants, your beast or the stranger who lives amongst your settlements. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et ha'aretz. For in 6 days God made heaven and earth, ve'et hayam ve'et kol asher bam, the sea and all that is in them. Vayanoch b'yom hashvi'i. But God rested on the seventh day. Al-ken barach Adonai yom ha'shabbat v'yikodshehu, and thus God blessed the seventh day and made it holy. Kabed et avicha ve'et imecha. Honor your father and your mother. Leman yarichu yamecha adama asher Adonai Elohecha noten lach. In order that your days may be lengthened on the land that Adonai your God is giving to you. Lo tirtzach. Do not. Come on, people. Murder. Lo tin'af, don't commit. Lo tignov, don't steal. Lo ta'neh v'recha et shakir, you shall not bear. All right, good. Lo tachmod beit reyecha, you shall not covet your neighbor's house. Lo tachmod eshet reyecha, you shall not covet your neighbor's spouse. Va'avdova amato v'sharo v'chamaro, either his servant or his donkey or his ox, v'chol asher l'reyecha, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. 1, 2, 3. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher machan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tocheinu Baruch atah Adonai. Amen. Mishaberach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov Imotinu Sarah Rivka Leah v'Rachel. May the one who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Becca, Leah, and Rachel, send blessings to you who are alumni and servants of the Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion. We give thanks for the great center of Torah that was established by Isaac Mayer Wise in the great city of Cincinnati of yesteryear, and that has spread the light and truth of Reform Judaism and Torah and tradition into every corner of the world. We give thanks for the service that all of you render for the Jewish people and all of the unique ways that you serve, and together may we go from strength to strength, and we say, Amen. We invite everyone to please rise.
וזאת התורה ששם משה לפני בני ישראל על פי אדוני ביד משה. יאי רי 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 יאי רי 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 יאי רי רי רי
Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov Imotinu Sarah Rivka Leah v'Rachel. May the one who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Becca, Leah, and Rachel, send your blessings of healing to those in our families, those in our community, and around the world who are in need of your special blessings of healing on this Shabbat. We add in our prayers this Shabbat Hannah Akawi, C.J. Allison, Fred Aronson, Fred Belkin, Seth Benedon, Ian Berger, Robert Burke, Margie Berman Block, Eleanor Broad, Ed Cantor, Amy Collins, Terry Cooper, Jay Eichler, Lawrence Friedman, Marty Fromowitz, Larry Guys, Laura Goldberg, Gladys Granite, Arthur Haspel, Samantha Hensel, Raymond Henry, Hank Himmelbaum, Marsha Hoffman, Raven Holzer, Noah Howard, Emily Josephson, Lynn Josephson, Regina Canner, Jack Klein, Joan Kramer, Jean Mallon, Elizabeth Marks, Paul Merker, Stanley Miller, Mike Miner, Gary Naff, Myra Rubenstein, Stephen Schwartz, Lori Schaefer, Kenneth Shore, Heather Simon, Mason Slane, Fred Stone, Eric Sullivan, Remy Tereski, Evan Waldman, and Joan Weidenfeld. We add those whom you include in our prayers as we continue through the congregation. For those joining us online, please add your prayers with ours. Baruch atah Adonai Rofei HaCholim. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings us healing.
Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Please be seated. Friends, we're blessed this evening to have with us, and for this Shabbat, Dr. Andrew Rehfeld, president of the Hebrew Union College. Dr. Rehfeld is the 10th president of Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion, appointed in April of 2019. He has bridged the academic and Jewish professional worlds as a tenured faculty member in political science at Washington University of St. Louis, and as president and CEO of the Jewish Federation of St. Louis from 2012 to 2019. He earned his Ph.D. in political science from the University of Chicago and a master's of public policy from Chicago's Harris School of Public Policy, and his academic research focuses on the intersection of democracy, human rights, justice, and institutional design. As president of HUC-JAR, he has worked to transform the College Institute to suit the needs of 21st century students who seek to serve the Jewish people as clergy, educators, nonprofit servants, and academics. Most recently, HUC established a new low residency program for rabbinical studies. This new virtual pathway is designed to enable qualified second career students in diverse locations and those who cannot be full-time students at the Hebrew Union College in residency so that they can fulfill their calling to the rabbinate. As a visionary thinker and a strategic pragmatist, Dr. Rehfeld is leading the Hebrew Union College into a new era to help train the next generation of Jewish leaders. It's my privilege to welcome here to our congregation. We're going to have you go down.
Shabbat Shalom. I have to tell you, it is such an honor to be here in this congregation with Rabbi Singer, with Rabbi Levin, with all of the graduates of the Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion. You see Rabbi Dan Levin every week, every day for some of you, but you should know that his influence in the movement goes well beyond this congregation. As a member of the Central Conference of American Rabbis Board, he is a voice of Reform Judaism in its best form, committed, dedicated, learned, and inspiring. Rabbi Levin, thank you. And he's everywhere. I want to say for the record that despite some of what my critics say, it is not the Hebrew Union College cemetery yet. But really, really proud to be here. Through its 6 schools and multiple degree programs, our archives, our libraries, our museums, we advance sacred Jewish leadership in Israel, North America, and around the globe for all aspects of the Jewish communal ecosystem: the rabbi, the cantor, the Reformed Jewish educator, the Jewish nonprofit executive, because Judaism, for all of its greatness, cannot advance on its own. Over 4,000 Hebrew Union College alumni now serve in over 30 nations around the world, demonstrating the multiple excellences of sacred Jewish leadership that you know here in this congregation. The pastor, the spiritual leader, the teacher, the preacher, the temple administrator, and federation executive leading with Jewish values. Reformed Jewish educators, soaring cantorial voices. You have 2 amazing cantorial voices. Sadly, they were not trained at the Hebrew Union College, but nevertheless. And advocates for social justice and change. We were founded in 1875 in the still great city of Cincinnati, Ohio, revolutionizing the training of rabbis and Jewish professionals. We revolutionized it by rejecting the yeshiva model of learning in favor of the rigor and intellectual integrity of modern academic institutions. We are a laboratory of academic inquiry, spiritual exploration, and creativity, where we study, create, and learn how to apply Jewish wisdom to meet the most pressing challenges of our day. And what challenges there are. We are in a moment of such major transformation of the Jewish people and our world, brought on even before the horrors of October 7th. And a war that followed, instigated by Hamas's brutality, a war that laid waste to a people in a region, until finally, and we pray finally, the hostages will be released and peace will descend upon all peoples within the region. While meanwhile, the demons of anti-Semitism have once again been called forth to torment our world. What's happening in our world today reminds me of a famous etching by Francisco Goya in 1799. It shows a writer slumped over his pad, being overtaken by horrible creatures that emerge from the dark. Entitled, "The Sleep of Reason Brings Forth Monsters." I fear we are living in Goya's nightmare today. A time when reason has taken a backseat to different truths, and the priority of passion and the personalizing of disagreement and the assertion of might as the standard of right have all once again become standards in our world. We could despair and give up, but that is not our way, nor is it to follow toxic positivity, a sense that, well, it'll all be just fine, but rather grounded in reality, because we as Reformed Jews have a way to respond. Reformed Judaism that we advance at the Hebrew Union College is religiously committed to reason and science as the means through which God reveals the majesty of our universe to human understanding. That is why HUC is committed to an academic approach to the study of Judaism. It's a Judaism that asserts that each human being is made B'Tselem Elohim, in the image of God, morally equal and religiously autonomous to one another. Dependent on our rabbis, as you so beautifully articulated, Rabbi Levin, our rabbis not to legislate, but to educate and inspire. It's a Judaism in which our love of Jewish life, the Jewish people in Israel, expands our field of empathy, encouraging us to care about those even whom we do not know, without prejudice against others. We are reshaping a new generation of sacred Jewish leaders to meet our challenges and inspire their communities like this one with ideas and spirit, drawing on Torah in its broadest sense to bring hope and joy to our world. But how exactly do we do that in a post-October 7th world? As I settled into my flight on El Al on November 17th, 2023, the cocoon-like interior and the hushed tones of a 1 a.m. departure provided me a much-needed refuge. I had just spent 3 weeks, mainly in Israel, mainly on our Toby family campus in the heart of Jerusalem. I'd traveled there soon after the attacks to be with our students, our faculty, our staff, our community, our alumni, to demonstrate solidarity with our Reform movement partners and to stand with Israel as we faced and it faced what remains an uncertain future. The calm of that flight was interrupted as my seatmate arrived. Let's call her Leah. Leah was about my age, somewhat disheveled and completely disoriented. How do you turn on the light? Where's the bathroom? Will they be serving food? She spoke perfect Israeli accented English. This is not my usual flight, she explained. Believe me, you don't want me to do an accent. I said to her, you do this often. Where are you flying to? Well, I moved to America 5 years ago, she said. 2 of my daughters live there with their families. So you have other children in Israel. She took a breath and paused before responding. Well, I have family there, yes. She sighed. It's been a hard, hard month. As Leah settled in, it was clear she was in physical discomfort, and she saw me noticing. Oh, it's my back. Now, I came back here for the high holidays to visit my daughter. She was living with her husband and my 3 young grandchildren in the South. Their house was quite small. They did not have room for me to stay with them, so I slept at their neighbor's home next door. Hamas entered the home I was staying in, and they shot me and the neighbor in our beds. I spent the last 3 weeks recovering near my sister in Tel Aviv. I'd heard many stories during my time in Israel, but I still did not know what to say. And in part it was because the story was incomplete. So I stayed silent, leaving her space. After adjusting her seat again, she looked up and saw my quizzical look. She understood the details she had left out. Oh, they had already been to my daughter's home. They killed her and her husband along with my grandchildren. They must have thought we were all dead. The words flowed like an ever-flowing stream. And so now I'm just returning home. That's life, I guess. And then without missing a beat, do you think they will serve that water soon? Her words flowed without feeling. Trauma has a way of doing that to you. Israel, the Jewish people, and all peoples in that region, including the Palestinians, will take generations to recover from the bloodbath and destruction that was brought on by Hamas's brutality that day. How do we develop sacred Jewish leaders capable of responding to this moment as the sleep of reason brings forth monsters? I asked that questions to 4 of the 136 rabbis that HUC has ordained in Israel, Israeli rabbis. These 4 I visited were in Megiddo, just southeast of Haifa, where they were working with families relocated from the south. One of our Israel rabbis from HUC held a Kabbalat Shabbat service at the first Friday night after the attacks. Now at Temple Bethel, you know that Kabbalat Shabbat is filled with music and joy. You get up and you understand what it is to sing. But on October 13th, there was no melody, there was no harmony in Megiddo. On that first Shabbat after the massacre, joy was forced, love was commanded. And yet there on a secular kibbutz, where only a few dozen might ordinarily show up on a Friday night, hundreds were drawn together, yearning to draw from the well of our tradition and Jewish wisdom. Our Israeli Reform rabbis are building a path for Israelis who embrace Enlightenment values, the values of reason and science, who respect the moral equality of every human being, and they are being called on now more than ever to serve their grateful nation. Like Rabbi David Azulai of Modi'in, who became the first Reform rabbi to officiate at a military funeral in the wake of October 7th. But this is not just about what we're doing in Israel for Israelis. It's about the importance of strengthening the ties between North America and Israel, between our Jewish leaders, our future rabbis. Since 1970, HUC has required all of our rabbis, including these 2 up here, these 3 up here, you all went to Israel. You all studied there because you understand the importance of that commitment. We are indeed commanded to love, but that commandment is not to love just anyone. It's to love our neighbor, our fellow Jew, and to cultivate Ahavat Yisrael, a love of the Jewish people and Israel. Importantly, we do this not for our own sake, but to expand our field of empathy, to encourage us to treat the interests of others as if they are our own, and think about how powerful identifying with a people can be. Think about it. How many of you feel pride when you hear that an Academy Award or a Nobel Peace Prize or any kind of Nobel Prize was won by a Jewish individual? Just raise your hand. How many of you feel shame when Jews do notorious things, shameful things? How many of you feel sadness when pain falls upon us? Not only the hostages, not only what happened in Israel. On July 4th of 2022, when the shooting in Highland Park happened, I remember where I was. And a few hours later, I found out that one of the people killed, Jackie Sondheim, was the facilities director at a Reform synagogue in Chicago. And simply knowing that I was connected to her, I had never met her, I had never been in that particular synagogue, I felt a new depth of sorrow. By cultivating love for a people, we are motivated to act, not just to feel. Think about the millions of dollars that were raised when Ukraine was invaded. My grandparents came from Ukraine. I felt connected there. I felt connected to the Jewish people and all people. The people that went to volunteer in Israel. You might have family, you might have friends, but many of you don't know most of the people that were hurt. That connection is what motivates us to act. As Reform modern Jews, we cultivate love and commitment to Jewish peoplehood and liberal Zionism, not merely for its own sake, to separate ourselves from another distinction between the Orthodox and the Reform, but rather expansively, To expand our field of empathy, it's because our particularism serves universal principles. How many of you have children? How many of you were children? I don't know about you, but I have kids, and I devoted everything I had to them to see that they succeeded. Except for one thing. If they were in athletic competition, I didn't go out and break the legs of their competitors. That would have helped them, right? It would have knocked it out. And it's not just that we are doing this work in order to expand our field of empathy and serve our universal principles, but it's for these reasons that our practice of Judaism, our responsibility to the Jewish people, and even our devotion to the state of Israel is always, always limited, because we believe such commitments bring forth a better world, but only if our expression of the love for our people, like our love for our children, is limited by the very justice towards which they aim. But the particularism that expands our field of empathy in one case all too easily leads to bigotry, racism, xenophobia, and toxic nationalism. How then do we cultivate that proper balance between love of our own and respect for others? As a laboratory for Jewish exploration, inquiry, and creativity, we are committed to liberal Jewish education. The idea that the cultivation of love and care for something we care for is best achieved when individuals come to that commitment through study and habit, not by command. The command is to love, but the means to that love is learning, openness, experiential opportunity, and trying on ideas. We train hundreds of students to be rabbis, cantors, Jewish nonprofit managers, educators, teachers, and scholars. We do this work in order to pursue that idea of a liberal Jewish education. The 136 Israeli rabbis ordained from our Israeli rabbinical program are providing access to Jewish life and learning for those who knew only Jewish extremism or secularism. We teach religious pluralism and work with Palestinians and Jewish Israelis to foster shared society. The road from October 7th will continue to be difficult, not just for Israel and the Jewish people, but for communities throughout the region, all victims of the brutal terror of Hamas, Hezbollah, and ultimately Iran. The sleep of reason brings forth monsters. On that El Al flight, I slept, trying to catch up for 3 restless weeks. As the lights in the cabin came back on, signifying our descent back into the United States, Leah and I struck up another conversation. "What do you do in Israel?" she asked me. And I told her about Hebrew Union College. "Oh, really?" she said, and she told me more of her story. "I grew up in a secular family. I still identify as a secular Jew. But in America, I joined a synagogue for the first time in my life, a Reform synagogue. I go there every week with my grandchildren. It's the only Judaism I knew in Israel compromised too much of who I was. I'm a scientist. I'm an engineer. I wanted to learn Torah, and I recognized the values of our tradition, but I could not tolerate the anti-rational sensibility at its core. I could not tolerate the discrimination against women and gay people. And as an officer in the IDF," she went on, "I found the xenophobic racism against Palestinians to be repugnant, even if they are sometimes our enemy. But in my Reform congregation, I found a community of meaning and purpose, learning from Torah and our tradition that does not force me to compromise my integrity. It embraces my granddaughter no matter whom she loves. And even as we are proudly Zionist, our Zionism is founded on the principle that all peoples have a right to self-determination, no matter who they are." And yes, this was a woman whose family had just been slaughtered by Hamas. She looked away for a moment. I miss that community back in America. It's been a very hard month. It's hard to imagine a stronger statement of the power of Reform Judaism, the Jewish peoplehood and Zionism properly understood. A statement that might wake up reason from its slumber and send back the monsters that now plague us back to where they belong. That is why we are here. For you don't have congregations like Temple Bethel without sacred Jewish leaders like those on the bima and in the congregation. And you don't have sacred Jewish leaders like that without Hebrew Union College. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. This month is Jewish Disability Inclusion Awareness Month, and so tzedakah tonight will go to JARC, Florida. JARC is a group home dedicated to providing support services which enable adults with developmental disabilities to live full and meaningful lives. This includes ensuring that homes are safe and comfortable, staff are caring and empathetic, holidays are celebrated, and activities are enjoyed. JARC is known for its high-quality programs and for leading the way in enriching lives and erasing barriers. One of their programs is called JARC Pals. We all need friends. Just a friend, a part of ordinary life that is so important. Friendship is a cornerstone of good mental health, and more than 30 clients at JARC now have friends known as pals who visit with them. Judy Rosen is a wonderful lady, a woman I had the privilege of meeting in one of my visits with one of our dear congregants, Melissa Rose, who resided at JARC for 12 years. Judy shared with us these words, illustrating the incredible work that JARC does, as she could not be with us this evening. I had a friend named Melissa. She lived in one of the group homes at JARC, Florida, where they aim to create ordinary lives for extraordinary people. Melissa and I were assigned to be JARC pals, and it was beshert. We both love musicals and love to sing out loud. We both love sweets and chocolate, and we both love our families, and we both love being Jewish. We had hoped to travel to Israel together as part of a JARC mission in October 2023. Sometimes when we were together, we did word finds. Sometimes we went out for lunch and for ice cream. Usually we just talked about our week and what was on our mind. We often just sat on a bench in the JARC garden that my family had donated in memory of my mother. And each time we did, Melissa asked me to tell her about my mom, who was loving, kind, and empathetic. We always hugged goodbye and told each other, "I love you." The best part of my week was walking into JARC and hearing the other clients shout out, "Melissa, your pal is here." I wish this story had a happy ending, but it doesn't. My friend Melissa passed away last week, and I am heartbroken. When we first met, she was a 2-time cancer survivor, but it came back, and the last few months were a struggle. I continued to visit her in the hospital, rehab, nursing home, and finally hospice. Melissa did not have an easy life, and it has been much too short. But in that time, she has impacted so many others. I love her and will never forget what this friendship has meant to me. I'll carry her with me always, and I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to connect with Melissa through the beautiful programming that is available through JARC. It is impossible to measure all of the meaning and impact that JARC makes, not just for its residents, but for all of us who are privileged to be a part of their lives. I hope you will consider giving tzedakah to this very special organization. And in a few months, maybe I'll start volunteering again, because there are so many other amazing clients at JARC who could use a pal, and I could use a friend. Judy and Melissa's story is one of the many beautiful ones that JARC has brought to life. At Melissa's funeral here at Temple Bethel on Monday, Judy and all the residents and staff wore roses, showing their love for Melissa Rose. So tonight we ask you to please consider making a donation to JARC Florida to show your love as well. And I'd now like to introduce our Temple's Vice President of Membership and Engagement, Susie Siegel, the very one and only, to share some words on behalf of the Board of Trustees, and thank you.
Thank you. Hello. I would like to wish a mazel tov to Layla and Ari on your mitzvah tomorrow. I would like to thank Rabbi Larry and Meryl Kotek for doing the Kiddush, and welcome. And I would also like to thank Dr. Andrew Rehfeld for his beautiful words. For tonight's announcements, there's a couple quick highlights of some upcoming events. Tomorrow, Saturday, February 15th at 9:30 for Torah study with Dr. Rehfeld. On Sunday, February 16th at 3 p.m., join us for Cantor Stephen Dubov's memorial concert as Jewish composer and performer Noah Aronson performs live here at Temple Beth El at the Schaefer campus. Online registration is closed, but you can buy tickets at the door. Monday, February 17th is the last day to sign up for Night of 50 Shabbat dinners, which is being held on Friday, March 7th. We are looking for some more hosts. Please register on our website. On Wednesday, February 26th at 7 p.m., join us along with Americans for Ben-Gurion University for Resilience and Hope, the way forward in the aftermath of October 7th. On Sunday, March 30th at 3 p.m., please join us at Old School Square in Delray Beach for a transcendent experience of shared singing where you and the choir at Harmonies of Hope, a concert for Unite in Peace with Kululam. Registration is open for the 2025 Bethel Bash. Please join us Saturday, April 5th for a night in Shin City, a Vegas-inspired evening of jubilees and jackpots. Please get your tickets today. As always, please visit tbeboca.org to register for these events and for more information about all of our temple programs. As mentioned earlier from Michelle, our tzedakah collection tonight will go to support JARC. We hope you will donate to this important cause by placing a cash or check or using your credit card at the tzedakah box in our lobby Social Justice Center. We hope you will stay after services for the oneg and shmooze. It will be in the courtyard tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Susie. We rise now for the words of Aleinu, which can be found on 282.
Aleinu לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
Now turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. As I recall the name of your loved one, I invite you to rise, and the congregation will join you in support. This Shabbat, we are remembering Stuart Bader, Irving Bankowski, Shirley Bankowski, Sylvia Barron, Bertha Barrett, Helen Beinhacker, Robert Bell, Esther Bennison, Ira Berger, Susan Bierman, Spencer Blakesley, Arthur Bland, Arthur Bloomfield, Amelia Finch Bruce, Abraham Goldstein, Saul Cohn, Marcia Lynn Cohen, Edward Cooperman, Stephen A. Koof, Betty Dolby, Irving Ehudin, Sylvia Stone Ellman, Francis Einfeld, Lisa Einfield, Paul Einfield, Louis File, Dr. Leonard Fine, Luba Fisher, Toby Fishman, Sylvia Folbaum, Viola A. Fox, Melvin J. Fromowitz, Shirley Gamarell, Arthur Gerson, Eleanor Goldstein, Bernard Gottheim, Ann Berman Gottlieb, Ruth Greenberg, Nancy Greenberg, Celia Grossman, Lila Hammer, Louis Hams, Gussie Harris, Amy Caden Hausman, Joseph Hewitt, Jean K. Himmelstein, Shirley Holinsky, Dr. Melvin Homer, Kalman Hyman, Stanley Jaffe, Harry Jarnes, Molly Kars, Herbert Solomon Kaufman, Stanley Klebanoff, Lydia Cohn, Sharon Coden, Harry Leach, Leon Levine, Charlotte Levy, Henry Lewin, Harry Lichtenstein, Milton Lieberman, Janice Lippman, Isidore Mandel, Sylvia Manoff, May Margolin, Clara Marks, Renee Meisel, Carl Myers, Newton Miller, Dora Montner, Irving Morris, Claire Nathanson, Henrietta Noodleman, Beverly Orth, Philip Oason, Howard Osterman, Sam Passon, Evelyn Pearl, Dr. Irving Perlmutter, Charlotte Ponce, Ronald Potkin, Jerry Rabinowitz, Robert Aben, Saul Rosenblum, John Roque, Francis Rubin, Ruth Rubenstein, Irving Sachs, Goodwin Salkoff, Iris Aronson, Harold Savage, Alfred Sachs, Elizabeth Schiller, Theodore Schlesinger, Rhoda Schlossberg, Sigmund Seltzer, David Shore, Lucille Silverman, Louis Simon, Gertrude Slavin, Gertrude Smith, Michael David Solomon, Max Sperling, Joyce Stevens, Elaine Stokes, Miriam Stopak, Edward Tavlin, Herb Thal, Dr. Herbert L. Wachtel, Gertrude Warkle, Irvin V. Weil, Betty Weinman, David Weissman, Bernard P. Wiesenthal, Lillian Zadoff, and Paul Zucker. And today, on the 7th anniversary of the shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, we remember Alyssa Al-Hadef, age 14, Scott Beagle, age 35, Martin Duke Aguiano, age 14, Nicholas Dworet, age 17, Aaron Feiss, age 37, Jamie Gutenberg, age 14, Chris Hickson, age 49, Luke Hoyer, age 15, Carol Ron, age 14, Gina Montalto, age 14, Joaquin Oliver, age 17, Elena Petty, age 14, Meadow Pollock, age 18, Helena Ramsey, age 17, Alex Schachter, age 14, Carmen Schrentrup, age 16, and Peter Wang. And we recall with sadness those who we've lost in the last 30 days of the month of Shloshim: Rita Slutsky, Ruth Winston, Jack Liebman, Joseph Arkush, Herman Liebersfeld, Samuel Pascal, Marvin Sherman, Gail Weissenbaum, Marks A. Sandoval, Lynn Guez, Harry Bleiberg, Edith Stein, Andrea Pat Shapiro, Abraham Friedman, Muriel Buchberger, Michael Whalen, Joyce Ladoff, Melissa Rose, Frida Jaffe, Eric Heltzer, Alan Honig, Martin Birnbaum, and Harriet Jacobson. And to those names, we add those that you are remembering in our community, whether you are here in the Rabbi Merle Singer Sanctuary or joining us online. And we rise as a community. Turn to page 294 for the words of Kadisha Tom. Yit gadal vi kadash shemei rabba, be'alma divra chirute ve'amlich malchute, b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, b'galau v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shemei rabba mevorach leolam u'lolmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitala, Shemei de Kudasha Brichu, Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'imromav, hu ya'asei shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the Holy One who creates harmony on high grant peace to all of us, to all of Israel, and to all who inhabit the earth, to which we say together, Amen.
Amen.
You may be
Thank
seated.
you so much to our wonderful musicians, to Vindia, to James, and to Jeff. Thank you to Gabe and Ross and Ron and Descartes and all of our wonderful Temple Bethel staff. We conclude tonight with the words of Oseh Shalom and invite any children here, and especially our bat mitzvah, to come up and lead the Motzi.
Oseh Shalom bimroma, uyaseh Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. Oseh Shalom bimroma, uyaseh Shalom aleinu. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.